Okay, so I'm sitting here outside my tent in the woods right now. It's getting dark. The fire's crackling next to me, and I need to tell you what happened 3 weeks ago because I almost lost my son. I almost lost him in a way that would have destroyed me forever. And if you're a parent watching this, if you have a child who's struggling, if you're worried about someone you love, I need you to hear this story before November 12th. Because what happened that night, the 5 words that were spoken to me, they didn't just save my son's life. They revealed something about how God intervenes in our darkest moments. Let me back up. My son X is 17. Smart kid, good kid, never gave us much trouble. But over the past year, something changed. He got quiet, withdrawn, stopped hanging out with his friends. His grades dropped. He'd stay in his room for hours, wouldn't talk to us at dinner. My wife kept saying something was wrong, that we needed to get him help. But I kept thinking it was just teenage stuff, that he'd grow out of it. I was so wrong. I was so dangerously, tragically wrong. 3 weeks ago, I came home late from work. It was around 11 p.m. The house was dark except for one light in the kitchen. My wife was already asleep. I was heading upstairs when I heard something, this quiet sound coming from the living room. I walked over and looked out the window, and that's when I saw him. Jake was standing on our second floor balcony in his bare feet, wearing just a t-shirt and sweatpants, and he was standing on the wrong side of the railing. My heart just stopped. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Every instinct in me wanted to scream, to run out there, to grab him. But something held me back. I don't know what it was, some voice in my head or some feeling in my chest. But I knew if I burst out there panicked, if I scared him, he might jump before I could reach him. So I forced myself to move slowly. I unlocked the balcony door as quietly as I could, stepped outside, and just stood there about 10 feet away from him. The cold air hit me, and I could see my breath in the darkness. X didn't turn around. He was just standing there, holding onto the railing behind him, staring down at the ground, 2 stories below. And I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "X."
Buddy, what are you doing out here?
He didn't answer. His shoulders were shaking, and I realized he was crying, not making any sound, just crying silently with his whole body trembling. I took one step closer and said, "It's cold, son. Come inside and we'll talk." And that's when he finally spoke. His voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear it. He said, "I can't do this anymore, Dad. I just can't." I felt like someone had reached into my chest and grabbed my heart. This was my son, my boy, the kid I'd taught to ride a bike and throw a baseball, standing on the edge of a balcony telling me he wanted to die, and I had no idea what to say. Every parenting book, every life lesson, every piece of advice I'd ever received, it all vanished from my mind. I was completely empty, completely helpless. So I did the only thing I could think of. I closed my eyes, and I prayed. Not out loud, just in my head, desperately, frantically. "God, I don't know what to say. Please, please tell me what to say to my son right now." And that's when I heard them. 5 words, clear as if someone had spoken them directly into my ear. 5 words that I would never have thought to say on my own. 5 words that made no logical sense in that moment. But 5 words that I knew, with absolute certainty, I was supposed to speak. I opened my eyes, looked at my son standing on that edge, and I said exactly what I'd been told to say. Here's what I said to X that night, standing on that balcony in the freezing cold with my son on the edge of death. I said, "You're not the broken one." That's it. Those were the 5 words. "You're not the broken one." And I watched something shift in his body. His shoulders stopped shaking for just a second. He turned his head slightly, not enough to look at me, but enough that I knew he'd heard me. So I kept going, because suddenly more words were coming. Words I didn't plan, words that felt like they were being given to me as I spoke them. I said, "X, you think you're broken? You think there's something fundamentally wrong with you that can't be fixed. You think you're a burden, that everyone would be better off without you. But you're not the broken one. The world is broken. The world is full of pain and pressure and impossible expectations, and it's crushing you. But that doesn't mean you're defective. That means you're human. That means you're feeling what you're supposed to feel when you're surrounded by brokenness." He still hadn't moved, but I could see his grip on the railing, loosening just slightly. I took another small step closer. I said, "You know what I see when I look at you? I don't see someone who's weak or damaged or failing. I see someone who's been carrying weight that no 17-year-old should have to carry. I see someone who's been trying so hard to be okay that you forgot it's okay to not be okay. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I missed all the signs. I'm sorry I let you suffer alone." That's when he started really crying. The kind of crying where you can't hold it in anymore. where your whole body just collapses under the weight of it. And I thought he was going to fall. I thought I was going to lose him right there. But instead, he turned around. He grabbed the railing on the safe side, and he just stood there sobbing, unable to speak. And I rushed over and I pulled him back over the railing, and I held him while he fell apart in my arms. We sank down onto the balcony floor together, and I just held my son while he cried, and said over and over, "I can't do this anymore, Dad. I just can't." I said, "You don't have to do it anymore. Not alone, not the way you've been doing it. We're going to figure this out together. Me, your mom, doctors, therapists, whoever we need. But you don't have to carry this by yourself anymore." We sat out there for over an hour. Eventually, he calmed down enough to talk, and he told me things I had no idea he'd been going through. The bullying at school that I didn't know about. The anxiety that made him feel like he couldn't breathe. The depression that made everything feel pointless. The thoughts that had been getting darker and darker until that night, when he decided he couldn't fight them anymore. The next morning, we didn't send him to school. We made an emergency appointment with a therapist. We started him on medication. We pulled him out of situations that were making things worse. And slowly, so slowly, we started seeing him come back. Not all at once, not in some miraculous instant healing, but gradually, day by day, he started to look more like himself again. 3 weeks later, he's not completely better. He's still in therapy, still on medication, still having hard days, but he's here, he's alive, and he's fighting, and we're fighting with him. But here's what I need to tell you about those 5 words. You're not the broken one. I didn't come up with those words. They weren't my wisdom or my psychological insight. They came from somewhere else, from someone else. God spoke those words to me, in the moment I needed them most, in the moment my son needed them most. And I believe he gave me those words because they're true, not just for Jake, but for everyone who's struggling right now. So I'm sitting here by this campfire tonight because I needed to get away and process everything that's happened. And I feel like I need to talk to 2 groups of people who might be watching this right now. First, the parents, and second, the people who are where Jake was 3 weeks ago. If you're a parent and you're worried about your child, if you've noticed them withdrawing, changing, struggling, please don't make the mistake I made. Don't tell yourself it's just a phase. Don't wait for it to get better on its own. Don't assume they'll talk to you when they're ready. Because here's what I learned, kids who are really struggling don't ask for help. They hide it, they pretend they're fine because they don't want to be a burden. They don't want to worry you, they don't want to seem weak. So by the time you notice something's wrong, it might already be an emergency. Talk to your kids, not at them, to them. Don't interrogate them, don't lecture them. Just create space for them to be honest. And if they tell you they're struggling, if they admit they're not okay, don't minimize it. Don't say things like everyone goes through this, or you just need to think positive, or other people have it worse. Those statements, even when well-intentioned, make people feel like their pain isn't valid. Instead, say thank you for telling me, and I'm here and we're going to figure this out together. Get professional help. I don't care if you think therapy is for weak people, or if you're worried about what people will think, or if you're concerned about the cost. Your child's life is worth more than your pride or your wallet. Find a good therapist, a psychiatrist if medication might help, support groups, whatever resources are available. Mental health is just as real as physical health, and you wouldn't refuse to take your kid to the doctor if they broke their leg, and pray. I know that might sound simplistic or like I'm pushing religion, but I'm telling you from experience that there are moments when you will be completely out of your depth, moments when you won't know what to say or do, and in those moments God can give you exactly what you need. He gave me 5 words that saved my son's life. He can give you what you need too. Now, if you're someone who's struggling right now, if you're where Jake was, if you've been thinking about ending your life, I need you to hear this. You're not the broken one. The world is broken. The systems are broken. The pressures are broken. The expectations are broken. And you've been trying to survive in a broken world, and it's been crushing you and you're exhausted. I get it. But the fact that you're exhausted doesn't mean you're defective. It means you're human. I know it feels like the pain will never end. I know it feels like there's no way out. I know you're tired of fighting, tired of pretending to be okay, tired of waking up every day and having to face it all again. But I'm telling you, as someone who almost lost his son to those feelings, it can get better. Not instantly, not magically, but it can get better. The pain you're feeling right now isn't permanent, even though it feels like it is. You're in a tunnel, and tunnels are terrifying because you can't see the end, but there is an end. There is light ahead, even if you can't see it yet. Please reach out, talk to someone. A parent, a friend, a teacher, a counselor, a pastor, a crisis hotline, anyone. I know you think you'll be a burden. I know you think people will judge you or not understand. But I promise you the people who love you would rather deal with your pain than live without you. Your absence wouldn't make their lives easier. It would destroy them. You matter more than you know.